Have you ever felt it? That quiet, haunting whisper from a version of yourself you left behind long ago, a specter of your own potential, a ghost of a sacred promise you once made to your soul, now echoing in the silent moments of a life that feels not quite your own. This isn't just a fleeting feeling, it is a divine signal, a crack appearing in the very matrix of your reality, a sacred summons from your higher self, beckoning you to remember the truth of who you were before the world told you who to be. If this deep, unspoken ache resonates within your very bones, understand that your spirit is awakening. You are not going crazy, and you have not found this message by accident. You were guided here. This is your moment. If you feel this truth stirring within you, type "I am ready" in the comments below. Like this video to anchor your powerful intention to the universe, and subscribe to our channel to begin the most important journey of all, the journey back home to yourself. Let us speak of a man, perhaps a reflection of you, perhaps a warning for you. In the dusty quiet of his 50s, in a life built on the solid bedrock of predictability, he stumbles upon a forgotten artifact in his attic, an old, leather-bound journal. Inside, the ink of a 17-year-old boy still screams with a vibrant, untamed energy. The pages are yellowed, but the words are eternal. They are not mere words. They are a soul contract, written in the fiery passion of youth. The first sentence strikes him not like a memory, but like a divine judgment, a mirror held up to a lifetime of silent compromises. It reads, "Don't live like Dad, live real. Even if it means being poor, even if it means being alone. Just don't betray yourself." He stares at the page, the air thick with the ghosts of decades past, because in that devastating moment of clarity, he realizes the ultimate tragedy. He has become the very man he swore he never would. He did not fail in the eyes of the world. No, he succeeded spectacularly. He built a fortress of safety, a bastion of stability, a monument to respectability. College, career, family, retirement plan. He ticked every box on the blueprint handed to him by the world. His life is a masterpiece of social acceptance, yet his soul is a barren wasteland of emotional emptiness. He is a king reigning over a silent kingdom of quiet sadness, a sorrow so deep and constant that it has become the very background frequency of his existence. He never chose the wrong path, you see. The true tragedy is that he never truly chose at all. He simply followed the well-trodden road that was presented to him, a path paved with the expectations of others, leading to a destination that was never his own. This profound sense of disconnection, this quiet disappointment, is not a personal malady. It has become a global spiritual pandemic. You can feel its subtle, pervasive hum when you speak to people in their 40s, their 50s, and beyond. It is not anger, it is not bitterness. It is a deep, soul-level numbness, a spiritual amnesia. They perform their roles with flawless precision. They laugh at parties, their smiles like perfectly crafted masks. They show up for work, contributing their life force to systems that do not nourish their spirit. They raise their children, passing down the same conditioned blueprints they themselves inherited. Yet, behind their eyes, behind the carefully maintained facade, something vital is missing. A 2022 global survey by Ipsos revealed a staggering truth. 67% of adults around the world feel profoundly disconnected from their own lives. Think about that. Not unhappy, not clinically depressed, but something far more insidious, just disconnected. They are passengers in their own vehicles, watching their lives unfold as if through a pane of glass. They say things like, "I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing anymore," or "Life is just happening, and I'm just there." They are not broken. They are not lost in the conventional sense. They are quietly haunted by the ghost of a possibility, a lingering soul memory that whispers of a life that was supposed to feel different, more vibrant, more real. The reason for this widespread spiritual malaise runs far deeper than individual failure or a series of wrong decisions. It is a systemic issue, a cultural and generational conditioning. It is about a world that never taught you how to make a real choice. From the moment you drew your first breath, you were subtly guided, shaped, and molded. No one teaches you how to truly live. They only teach you how to function. You are taught how to succeed in the eyes of others, how to please, how to conform, how to blend in. You are trained to chase goals that sound respectable, to pursue milestones that earn social approval. You learn, from a very early age, to trade your raw, untamed authenticity for the comforting warmth of acceptance. And this trade, this silent betrayal of the self, is lauded and celebrated. They call it maturity. They call it being responsible. But what is it, truly? It is the slow, methodical process of forgetting the language of your own soul. You learn that being a responsible adult is somehow more important than being a spiritually alive human being. You learn that following the system is safer than following your soul's calling. So you grow up. You get the job. You play the part. You construct a life that is admired by everyone but is utterly foreign to your own inner being. And then, one day, you awaken in the middle of this carefully constructed reality, and you don't know who you are without the routine, without the titles, without the expectations. You have become a husband, a provider, a leader at work, a pillar of your community. But somewhere between the meetings, the bills, and the milestones, you lost the man you once promised you would become. Maybe you even forgot he ever existed. But then, something stirs. A question, a memory, a line from an old notebook. Something small, something true, pierces the veil of your carefully managed existence. And in that moment, you realize the greatest tragedy is not that you failed. The real tragedy is that you were never truly allowed to choose. You were simply handed a script, a role to play in a grand, impersonal play. And you played that role well, with dedication and sincerity. But the longer you perform it, the further you drift from the person you were divinely designed to be. This isn't just a personal issue. It's structural, it's cultural, it's generational. Because when more than 2/3 of the world's adult population feels disconnected from their own lives, it is no longer about individuals making bad choices. This is about a system that rewards obedience over authenticity, a system that praises external success while systematically ignoring, and even punishing, inner truth. It is a system that makes it easy to survive but incredibly difficult to truly live. And the worst part is, you probably didn't even notice it happening. It wasn't a hostile takeover. It was a slow, gentle sedation. It all felt so normal, so right, so necessary. Until one day, you look at your life, and it feels like someone else's. This awakening, this dawning horror, this feeling of being a stranger in your own skin, this is not a midlife crisis. Understand this truth. It is a spiritual resurrection. It is a sacred rebellion. It is the unlived part of you, the authentic self you suppressed and buried, finally gathering enough strength to shatter the walls of its prison. Carl Jung warned us that what we reject in our youth returns to us in adulthood, not as dreams, but as our fate. The pain you feel is not a sign of breakdown. It is the signal of a breakthrough. It is your soul screaming, trying to force its way back to the surface. It is the return of the real self, the part of you that you abandoned for the sake of conformity. It is the version of you that once burned with clarity, passion, and purpose before you learned to please and perform. And make no mistake, you didn't just lose that version of you, you killed it. You looked at your joy, your untamed longing, your most sacred dreams, and you labeled them unrealistic. You looked at your primal hunger for freedom, for meaning, for a life of purpose, and you dismissed it as immature. And slowly, with every practical decision, you buried the one part of you that was truly alive. You didn't bury it in a grave. You buried it under layers of responsibility, under the weight of a carefully curated image, under the constant pressure for approval. You did it so well, you forgot it was ever there. Until now. Now you feel the cracks. You feel the dissonance, the ache that won't go away, no matter how much you achieve or acquire. That is not weakness. That is your soul trying to break the surface. Jung called this the return of the real self, the part of you that you abandoned, the version of you that once burned with clarity before you learned to please and perform. And make no mistake, you didn't lose that version. You killed it. You looked at your joy, your longing, your dream, and you called it unrealistic. You looked at your hunger for freedom, and you called it immature. And slowly, with every decision to be practical, you buried the one part of you that was truly alive. You didn't bury it in a grave. You buried it under responsibility, under image, under approval. And you did it so well, you forgot it was ever there. Until now. Now you feel the cracks, the dissonance, the ache that won't go away. That is not a midlife crisis. It's a resurrection. It's not a breakdown. It's a breakthrough, trying to force its way through the walls you built. Jung said this moment is not the end. It's a doorway, but only if you're willing to walk through it. And that requires something terrifying. Not courage, not strength, but the willingness to confront the truth that the life you built was not built for you. Jung divided life into two halves. The first half is where you build your identity. You form a persona, a mask that helps you function in society. You learn the rules, you play the game, you earn praise for being who they need you to be. But the second half, the sacred second half, is where you must tear that mask off. You must unlearn. You must return. You must stop performing and start becoming. Most people never do. They cling to the first half of life like it's all they have. They keep growing their ego, their image, their social armor, while their soul remains unfed, starved, and silent. They call it maturity. They call it wisdom. But really, it's fear. Fear of admitting that the life they fought so hard to build was never theirs to begin with. This is why men in midlife often feel like strangers in their own skin. Not because they've failed, but because they've outgrown the mask and don't know what's underneath. And what's underneath is the boy they once were, the one who dreamed freely, who created without purpose, who felt something sacred and alive inside him before the world trained it out. You remember that boy. He wasn't foolish. He wasn't naive. He was honest. He was whole. He was you, before you betrayed yourself to survive. Now he's knocking, not to shame you, but to invite you back. Back to the unlived life. Back to the road you abandoned because it didn't fit someone else's definition of success. That road is still there. It never left. It's waiting, just like your real self has been. Not to start over, but to begin for the first time. So, ask yourself, if the dreams of your youth still burn in silence, if your soul still aches for something more, if your pain is trying to wake you up, then maybe you haven't failed. Maybe you've simply reached the doorway Jung described, the moment when the self you killed comes back as fate and asks you, one last time, will you live me now? Maybe the real reason you haven't changed isn't because it's too late, but because you've been telling yourself for decades, not yet, not now, maybe later. Seneca called this the most dangerous lie a man tells himself, the lie of someday, because someday never comes. It stretches endlessly in front of you, always close enough to believe in, but never close enough to touch. You've said, after the promotion, then after the kids grow up, then after this project, then after I retire. But look around. That life you were preparing to live, has it arrived? Or have you spent all your preparation on a future that never intended to show up? Seneca warned people live as if life will grant them a second round, as if time is stored somewhere patiently to be claimed once things settle down. But life doesn't wait. It doesn't pause. It doesn't rewind. It leaks, minute by minute, into emails you didn't need to send, conversations you didn't want to have, and routines you never questioned. And the saddest part, you kept telling yourself it's just temporary. But the temporary became your permanent. And now, here you are, not out of time, but out of excuses. You say you're too busy to live differently, but who exactly is using your time? Because it's not your calendar that owns you, it's your fear. The fear of rocking the boat. The fear of disappointing others. The fear of what might happen if you actually chose yourself.